I have a dream that one day this nation will rise up and live out the true meaning of its creed. Injustice anywhere is a threat to justice everywhere. The time is always right to do what is right. Darkness cannot drive out darkness. Only light can do that. Hate cannot drive out hate. Only love can do that. Faith is taking the first step, even when you don't see the whole staircase. Life's most persistent and urgent question is, what are you doing for others? Our lives begin to end the day we become silent about things that matter. Freedom is never voluntarily given by the oppressor. It must be demanded by the oppressed. We must learn to live together as brothers, or perish together as fools. The arc of the moral universe is long, but it bends toward justice. Let no man pull you so low as to hate him. True peace is not merely the absence of tension, it is the presence of justice. A riot is the language of the unheard. Love is the only force capable of transforming an enemy into a friend. The ultimate measure of a man is not where he stands in moments of comfort, but where he stands at times of challenge and controversy. If you can't fly, then run. If you can't run, then walk. If you can't walk, then crawl. But by all means, keep moving. Nonviolence is a powerful and just weapon which cuts without wounding and ennobles the man who wields it. We may have all come on different ships, but we're in the same boat now. I have decided to stick with love. Hate is too great a burden to bear. Shallow understanding from people of goodwill is more frustrating than absolute misunderstanding from people of ill will. Change does not roll in on the wheels of inevitability, but comes through continuous struggle. He who passively accepts evil is as much involved in it as he who helps to perpetrate it. Never forget that everything Hitler did in Germany was legal. Freedom is not given. It is won. A man who won't die for something is not fit to live. In the end, we will remember not the words of our enemies, but the silence of our friends. The hottest place in hell is reserved for those who remain neutral in times of great moral conflict. We are not makers of history. We are made by history. It is not enough to say we must not wage war. It is necessary to love peace and sacrifice for it. Everybody can be great, because anybody can serve. Nonviolence means avoiding not only external physical violence, but also internal violence of spirit. We must build dikes of courage to hold back the flood of fear. The function of education is to teach one to think intensively and to think critically. Intelligence plus character, that is the goal of true education. We must accept finite disappointment, but never lose infinite hope. The moral arcs of the universe bends at the elbow of justice. There comes a time when silence is betrayal. A genuine leader is not a searcher for consensus, but a molder of consensus. You don't have to see the whole staircase. Just take the first step. No one really knows why they are alive until they know what they die for. There can be no deep disappointment where there is not deep love. Human progress is neither automatic nor inevitable. The quality, not the longevity, of one's life is what is important. The ultimate tragedy is not the oppression and cruelty by the bad people, but the silence over that by the good people. Even if I knew that tomorrow the world would go to pieces, I would still plant my apple tree. Peace is not merely a distant goal that we seek, but a means by which we arrive at that goal. Power without love is reckless and abusive, and love without power is sentimental and anemic. I submit that an individual who breaks a law that conscience tells him is unjust is in reality expressing the highest respect for law. Let us not seek to satisfy our thirst for freedom by drinking from the cup of bitterness and hatred. Every man must decide whether he will walk in the light of creative altruism or in the darkness of destructive selfishness. We must use time creatively, in the knowledge that the time is always ripe to do right. Hope is not a luxury of the privileged. It is the lifeline of the oppressed. To doubt the worth of another human being is to forget the divine spark within yourself. The streets cry out for justice louder than any sermon from the pulpit. When love becomes policy, peace becomes possible. A nation that teaches fear will harvest violence. The most dangerous kind of injustice is the one dressed in legality. I never marched for comfort. I marched so others could rest without fear. The soul of America is not in its monuments, but in its conscience. Justice is not a favor. It is the bare minimum of dignity. The work is not done until every child can dream safely under the same sky. Some nights I pray not for strength, but for gentleness. You can chain a man's body, but never his vision. Real change doesn't arrive with applause. It arrives with sacrifice. History will ask not what we said, but what we dared to do. A free society is not judged by its wealth, but by its compassion. We must raise our sons to see strength in love, and our daughters to see power in peace. Each time I doubt the future, I remember the eyes of the children at the front of every march. Forgiveness is not forgetting. It's refusing to surrender your soul to hate. Even the longest night yields to morning when truth is steadfast. Let your conscience be louder than your comfort. True equality means the dream belongs to all, not just those who can afford it. You cannot preach love with clenched fists. No act of kindness is ever wasted in the battle for justice. When I speak, I do not speak as one man. I speak with the borrowed hope of millions. The brokenness of the world is not a reason to despair. It is a reason to build. Let your life be a sermon louder than any shout. To challenge power is not treason. It is the first act of patriotism. The cost of silence is always paid by the innocent. The true victory is not in winning the argument, but in awakening the heart. Let us be known not by what we suffered, but by how we loved. The drum major for justice must also be willing to march alone. There is no justice in peace that ignores the pain of the poor. The dream is not behind us. It is waiting for us to wake up. Equality is not a destination. It's a daily decision. Our power is not in how loud we speak, but in how deeply we care. You cannot heal a nation by ignoring its wounds. A movement without compassion is merely noise. My dream was never just mine. It was the whispered hope of generations. Hate may build walls, but only love builds bridges that last. The ballot is not just a right. It is a responsibility to justice. To lead is to love boldly in the face of danger. A peaceful heart is the fiercest weapon in any revolution. Silence in the face of cruelty is a betrayal of our humanity. Speak not to be heard, but to be remembered in the heart. The law may protect the powerful, but only conscience protects the powerless. We change history not by shouting louder, but by walking longer. No dream worth having comes without nights of doubt. I never feared jail. I feared letting down those who believed in me. When one man's rights are trampled, none of us stand free. America will rise not when it forgets its past, but when it learns to love through it.